The Monte Cristo sandwich is a fried ham and cheese sandwich served with jelly and eaten with a knife and fork. Though most recipes tend to vary, this is a very common recipe, but with my own little twist. This is a variant of a French sandwich called a croque monsieur, eaten since 1910, but the first Monte Cristo was served at Disneyland in 1966. The shopping list is relatively simple. For the batter, we need 2 eggs, 4 tablespoons of milk, salt, and pepper. For the sandwich itself, we need 3 slices of bread, honey-baked ham, Swiss cheese, and Parmesan cheese. For the blackberry sauce, we're going to need 3 tablespoons of real maple syrup, 4 tablespoons of blackberry jelly, and then powdered sugar. First, we're going to start with the batter. You're going to take your 2 eggs and then place it in a bowl. Next, you're going to take a whisk. This is a forks work just as well. Now you're going to start whisking, and you're going to keep whisking until there's no spots left. White spots, that is. Now, as halfway through, you're going to start to add a little bit of your milk. Just a little bit to start, and then add a little bit more as you whisk along. Now keep whisking until all of those white spots are out of the way. Now it's time to add for some pepper. You're going to grind that pepper and put just a little bit in. You don't want to overdo it, but a good amount is good. A little salt should do, and one more little whisk, and you're good to go. As we move on to the sandwich, you're going to have everything laid out right here nice and neat for you. So, you're going to start by taking pieces of buttered bread, 3 slices. Take your first slice, lay it down, and you're going to layer and fold 3 slices of ham. Lay it down, fold it over. Lay it down, fold it over. You're going to take 3 slices of Swiss cheese. Take your second piece of bread and center it buttered side down. And I'll explain how this works in just a minute. But before I do that, you're going to put 3 more slices of ham. Take the last of your cheese and put it on. After this, you're going to want to lightly sprinkle your Parmesan. Now all we have left to do is put the last piece of bread buttered side down. Now before you do this, one thing you need to do next is press down your sandwich. I don't normally do this, but in this case, you're going to want to do this, just trust me. So give it a good press. Now you're going to take your bread knife and you're going to cut the crust off. If you're right-handed, you want to press down with your left hand and use your right hand to cut off the crust and the cheese and the meat that hangs off the side. One more side to go. And when you're done, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Let me explain to you why we need to do this. Since the meat has already been cooked, the cheese needs to be cooked as well. So in order to do this, we put the cheese in between the meat so that the bread gets nice and toasty, the cheese melts, and the meat stays nice and cooked in this heterogeneous mixture. Now we're going to move on to the blackberry sauce. You're going to start by taking a medium saucepan and putting it over low heat. You're going to want to take a spoon with a little corner so it's really easy to get the edges and the corners in there. So, like I said, put it on just barely enough so that the flames are showing, because you don't want to overcook this sauce. Now this is a very important step, that we don't overcook the blackberries here. So we're going to start by putting it in here, and immediately it's going to start to sizzle. So as we're breaking down the blackberries, we're going to add our syrup, and this helps speed up the process of melting. There are 3 things that control how fast something melts. That is stirring, heat, and how fine it is chopped up. Well, since we can't really chop this up even finer than it already is, we're going to put it on low heat and stir it to help it melt faster. The last thing you're going to want to do here is put the powdered sugar in and the rest of your milk. You're going to stir this until well blended, and then you're going to put it in a small serving dish and put it in the freezer. Before we begin frying the sandwich, we have to batter it first. Now all we're going to do is just give it one last little whisk, and one thing I forgot to mention before is it might not be a bad idea to put a little bit of Parmesan cheese and sprinkle it in there. Give it one more little whisk, and pour it straight on your plate. You're going to pick up your sandwich with both hands, and you're going to set it down, dip and lift up. Get it nice coated and nice soaked into the bread. Don't worry about the edges, we'll worry about those later. What you have to do is set it right on the pan. Listen to that sizzle. Our goal here as we cook the sandwich is to cook the meat inside and melt the cheese without burning the bread. All we have to do here is just keep this on medium to low heat so that we don't burn the bread but melt the cheese, as I stated before. As this speeds up, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the browning effect. Now this is actually called a Maillard reaction, which is a reaction between amino acids and sugars that gives foods a really good flavor and a nice brown texture that we all like. What would happen if we didn't cook this properly and didn't use the full potential of the browning effect? Well, we would get this weird, soggy, half-cooked thing barely worth calling a sandwich, let alone the name Monte Cristo. We definitely do not want that. All we have left to do is to sear the edges. Now get your tongs. Now you're just going to carefully dip the edge in the batter. Lift up immediately, and then sear for exactly 10 seconds. You can count this in your head or out loud, and lift up, and do this to all the rest of the sides. All we have left to do is just set this up, just grab some powdered sugar, sprinkle it over the top. You're going to take your blackberry sauce out of the fridge, take a nice big spoonful, and lightly drizzle over the top. Want a nice good amount. Now, take your sandwich that you have cut corner to corner, pull it apart, and set it right down over the jelly and the powdered sugar. Get some more of your jelly sauce, and drizzle it over the top one more time. All you have left to do is to sprinkle a little bit more powdered sugar, and you have a nice Monte Cristo. Bon appetit!